Hey everyone and welcome back. Today we are at the Toby Carvery in Eastbourne. If you are familiar with the UK and you live in the UK, you probably don't need much of an introduction into a Toby Carvery because they are dotted all around the UK. If you are not from the UK and are not familiar, they have coined the term the home of the roast, and it is a selection of restaurants with a fairly kind of casual theme where you can come in and get yourself a nice roast dinner at a relatively low price. I'm not going to pretend that I am a Toby Carvery virgin. I love a Toby Carvery, and they are one of those places that kind of divide the crowd a little bit. Some people absolutely love them, some people probably are not so keen. I am firmly in the love them camp, so we have come to the one in Eastbourne today to have some food, check it out, and give our honest thoughts on whether we're enjoying it or not. So let's go and get ourselves a good old roast dinner. One more tip: if you are new to a Toby Carvery and have never been before, when you go, make sure you wear your elasticated trousers because there are big portions and you serve yourself. So if you're anything like me, you're going to come out feeling pretty full. Let's go and have some food. So we have been shown to our table. We are sat down. I am looking through the menu now. We actually got a voucher through Groupon, which entitled us to 2 courses for 2 people for $22.99. We are going to opt for the main carvery and then for a pudding, but you could have a starter if you wanted to. If you didn't have a voucher, then Monday to Friday it is £10.79 for the carvery. And the puddings are individually priced down the side here. If you wanted a starter rather than a pudding, that would also be absolutely fine. That is included in the 2 course for $22.99. We've got a table, we've been served with our drinks, so I think now we need to go up and investigate the carvery and see what we can find. So we've come up to the hot plate now to get our food. There is a choice of 4 meats today: turkey, gammon, beef and pork. That beef looks absolutely amazing. It looks like they've recently brought out a fresh joint, so that is hopefully going to be nice and juicy and tender and moist. With the carvery, you can choose any one of the meats or you can choose all 4. I'm going with all 4 because we've got to review all 4. You can also opt to go king size if you want, which means you'll get an extra Yorkshire pudding, 2 pork sausages and extra meat. I'm going to stick with standard for today. When it comes to the veg, there is a lot of veg to choose from, but I'm going to skip over most of it because I am not an especially veg heavy person. What I am going to do though is take a little bit of cabbage, and then I'm going to do something that is going to totally divide opinions. I'm going to absolutely drench my food in gravy, because I love gravy, and the Toby Carvery's beef gravy is one of the best. It is always thick, it always has a good flavour, and I just love it. I know some of you will say, how can you even taste your food through the gravy? Trust me, I can. And it's just personal opinion, isn't it? And personal choice. I like a lot of gravy, some people don't. But it's my food, so we're going with a lot of gravy. Doesn't make for the most pretty presentation or the most Instagrammable plate of food, but I don't care because I am going for taste today. Taste will always win. So I've got my carvery now. I am looking forward to digging in. This is where you guys can probably tell that I'm much more of a fan of meat rather than veg. There is a tiny little bit of cabbage under there, I promise, but most of it is the meat. I went for all 4 kinds of the meat. Under my mountain of gravy, I have got some gammon, which is just poking out here. I have got some turkey. I have got some beef. And somewhere under there, there is also some pork. Actually, I think what I just said was beef is the pork. Yep, that is the pork. And then we have got beef underneath here. I've got some mint sauce on my potatoes. Now, I know lots of you will say, there's no lamb on that plate. Mint sauce goes with lamb. I like my mint sauce. I like it on my potatoes. And I know it is not traditional to have mint sauce if there's no lamb, but there is a lot of things in this world that are not traditional, such as getting jiggy before wedlock. And that's no longer really frowned upon either. So the mint is staying on the potatoes. Also a lovely big Yorkshire pudding. Let's dig in and see what we think. I'm going to start just by trying the meat on its own. Let's have a go on some gammon first. The gammon is good. It's got a nice flavour. It's quite salty, but I do like those kind of saltier flavours, as you guys probably know. So yeah, it's quite salty, but it is tasty. Got a fair few meats to dig through here. The pork. Let's see what we think of the pork. My initial feelings looking at the pork is that it feels like it may be a little on the dry side. Let's see. Thank you very much. Okay, so the pork is a tad dry. More than a tad. It was quite dry. Right, turkey. Another meat for notoriously being dry from time to time. Let's attempt the turkey. Actually, not as dry as the pork. It is slightly dry, but it's better than the pork for sure. Now, where is the beef hiding? The beef is the one I was really looking forward to. Actually, up on the carvery itself, the beef looked by far the most tempting meat. Let's try some beef. So yeah, the beef has got a really good flavour to it. It is not dry. It's not pink. Personally, I do like my roast meats to have kind of that pink tint to them. Obviously, roast beef. Wouldn't want roast chicken to have a pink tint to it. But the roast beef, I do like to kind of be on the rare, medium rare side. This one isn't. This is just fully cooked through. But yeah. That beef is really good. Out of all four of the meats, the beef is brilliant. The gammon is good. The turkey is average. The pork is, just spat a little bit, sorry. The pork is very dry, drier than the Sahara. Now, Toby are kind of well known for their Yorkshires. They've tried to make it a thing. There's a good crunch to that, nice and crispy. It's a nice Yorkshire. It's crispy, it's not soggy, it has got a nice crisp to it there. And I'm kind of trying to rush through these elements purely because there are so many different things on my plate and I want to test them all before they go cold. My roast potato, and I think this is another thing that Toby say that they specialise in. These are roast potatoes in beef dripping. And I do like beef dripping on a roast potato. Can't beat a bit of beef dripping. Or perhaps duck fat. Duck fat also good, but I love it. Let's test out this potato. I've had better. I've had worse. I've actually had better roast potatoes here at the Toby. They're not as crispy as I'd like them to be. They are average. They're not actually great. I'm a little disappointed. Let's test this one just in case I picked a bad potato. You've got the app? Yeah, if you scroll back down. As you can see on the inside there, they are not especially fluffy. I do like a nice fluffy inside. That's it. If you click the wallet just here, that start button. There we go. Bear with me. It's not blowing my mind. It's not bad, but it is distinctly average. And the stuffing. And again, the stuffing is average. So you've got your first stamp. I mean, it's sage and onion stuffing. There's not a whole lot you can say about sage and onion stuffing, but it's only average. It's got quite a nice flavour. I'm not sure if I like the texture so much. And I am a fan of stuffing, so it's not just that I don't like stuffing. Love a bit of stuffing. Um, but the texture is not quite right for me. Right, last thing is the cabbage. And the cabbage is nice. The cabbage is nicely cooked. It's not mushy, it's not soft, it's still got a nice bit of bite to it. I'm enjoying the cabbage. So overall on my plate so far, I am very happy with the beef and the gammon and the Yorkshire. I could take or leave the roast potatoes, the stuffing, and the turkey. The cabbage was good. I'm not keen on the pork. The pork is a little too dry for my liking. I'm going to eat through the rest of this now. I have made a complete mess of my plate with this gravy. Far too much gravy probably for most of you, but I like a lot of gravy. I like my mint sauce. I know how I like it, so that's how I'm going to do it, and that's how I'm going to judge it. On the whole, I think I'm going to enjoy this, so let's get down to some eating. So perusing the pudding menu now, there are a lot of different things to choose from. The apple pie, chocolate fudge cake, vanilla cheesecake, which I think we heard her say was actually out of stock or not available today, cookie dough sundae, ice cream, sponges, sticky toffee puddings. I have gone with the cookie dough sundae because although it's cold outside today, you can't beat a bit of ice cream. Wayne has gone with the sticky toffee pudding, so naturally I will need to sample that just to inform you guys as well of how it is. So be prepared for me to have a nice big bite of your sticky toffee pudding, Wayne, because it's coming my way. So here are the puddings. I am going to dive straight in with Wayne's sticky toffee. Sticky toffee pudding. That's so hard to say. Because he has obviously opted for ice cream, and I don't want to sit here chatting away and for all his ice cream to melt. So let's go straight in without any further need for talking. And that is a nice sticky toffee pudding. The sauce is really sweet, nice taste of toffee in there. Quite a dense kind of pudding. Cake, isn't it, essentially? Quite a nice, dense, but tasty. The ice cream complements it really well. Yeah, I like that. Get some toffee sauce on there. Without any ice cream, it is slightly on the dry side, but with the ice cream and the sauce all together, that takes away the slight dryness. And I think it's nice. It's a good pudding, but it's not mine, so I'm going to swipe it over to Wayne so he can try and eat it whilst he films me reviewing mine. Whether or not he can succeed is another thing. One of these little wafers. I'm not the biggest fan of these. It's kind of just like eating card. I'll put them on Wayne's plate, little treat. So a cookie dough sundae, topped with chocolate sauce and toffee sauces and cookie dough pieces. Now, it definitely looks good, doesn't it? But how does it taste? That is the main question. 3 little cookie dough pieces there. That is nice. What I'm wondering is whether the cookie dough pieces are just on the top or if they go all the way down. From what I can see, I'm going to say that perhaps they are just on the top. I'm going to see if I can find any more cookie dough bits hiding down there. Oh, actually, I stand corrected, said the man with the orthopaedic shoe. I think there's some more cookie dough pieces down there at the bottom. I kind of felt them. There's more down there. Quite a nice size as well. I can't remember how much this was without the offer. I think it was around about £5.80. There's quite a lot in there. I'm going to carry on eating, and then I'm going to give you our thoughts once we finish up here. So I'm going to try and make our summing up quick today, because apparently since we've been in there, the weather has got really, really windy, really, really cold, and not very nice at all. So let's go with the food first. The food, I was actually felt a little bit let down today by the food. I have had much better meals at the Toby Carvery. The beef was really good. The gammon was really nice. The turkey, average, verging on dry, but not too bad. The pork, so dry. That was really tough to eat, that pork. The roast potatoes, not especially crispy, not especially fluffy, just passable. The stuffing was odd. It was kind of, the only way I can really describe it was chewy, which is a little bit strange because I'm used to stuffing either being a little bit more stodgy or kind of crispy. But it was kind of chewy, which is a strange word to describe stuffing, but I wasn't super keen on it. The Yorkshire was good, did like the Yorkshire, and I did like the cabbage. The puddings, I really liked them as well. Both of the puddings were nice. The sticky toffee pudding was slightly dry when eaten on its own, but it was perfectly fine. The service was slow today. I let them get away with it because it was actually quite busy, surprisingly, and there was only 2 members of staff, but it was slow. Overall, the restaurant itself was nice and clean, quite enjoyable, a perfectly enjoyable experience. Now, let's look at our receipt. We had the offer, which we got from Groupon, which was 2 courses for 2 people for £22.99. So we paid £22.99 for the food, and we paid £7.90 for the 2 refillable drinks that we had. I think that's pretty good value, isn't it? They actually had an offer on today for 50% off all mains anyway. So we could have got just a main for £6 if we hadn't already have had our offer. And I think if you were here and you spent £6, although the food was kind of just average, you can't complain at £6 for that amount of food, because that is good value. That is cheaper than a takeaway, cheaper than McDonald's, cheaper than kind of fast food, and you get to choose however much you want of anything except the meat and except the Yorkies. But the veg you can have as much as you want, so you couldn't complain at that for £6. However, overall today, as I said, I felt a little bit let down perhaps by the quality of the food. And it pains me to say that I can only really rate it, taking everything into account, a 6.5 to a 7 out of 10. And that is disappointing, because I have had roasts here that I would easily rate 8 or 9 out of 10. But for today's visit specifically, I think it's going to have to be a 6.5, taking everything into account. But I'm still going to come back, because I am definitely going to give it another chance, because I like my Toby Carvery roasts. They fill me up, they're good value, and it is definitely a good job that I wore the elasticated trousers, because my belly is feeling very full. That's it for now. I'm going to go and get in the warm, and we'll see you another time, another table. Got that the wrong way round. Another table, another time.